Hi there, I'm Mark Johnson. I'm the photojournalism lecturer at the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Georgia, and this is the week that was in the visual journalism program here at Grady College. We had a pretty good week. The intro students started off with watching a documentary, a great documentary on Joel Sartore, one of National Geographic's top shooters. This was a PBS special that came out a couple of years ago, and he just does an excellent job of talking about the craft of photojournalism, why it's important that we do the work that we do, why he does the work that he does, and it does a really nice job of explaining how he balances his professional life, which puts him on the road for 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks at a time sometimes, and his family, his home life there. Interviews with his wife and kids and stuff like that are in there. It's a really, really nice piece. It's a nice lead-in to the documentary I'm going to show him this next coming week, which is on James Noctway, and that one's called War Photographer. And that is not a bright and cheery documentary, to be perfectly honest. He's a pretty intense fellow. I used to just show that documentary in the class and realized that it was sort of overwhelming the students. So we've decided to bring in the Joel Sartore one. The doc photo students, on the other hand, they had a pretty good week. They did an awful lot of talking about their upcoming stories for the weekend workshop, which is just a week away at this point in time. So next week edition of the video journalism vlog is going to be coming to you from lovely Habersham County. They've got their story ideas. They've been wandering around up there. People know that they're coming. People are excited that they're coming. Everybody's been really great up in Habersham County, so we're really looking forward to that. We did have a couple of guests that came into the college this week. I told you last week that Rebecca Burns, who is the Director of Digital Strategy for Emmis Publishing, was going to be coming in, and she actually did 2 presentations. The first one was on Monday, and that was a look at a book that she just recently published that looks at the 10 days around the Martin Luther King Jr. funeral. And it was a fascinating talk for me. I knew about the book, hadn't read the book, but ordered it that night because she did an awful lot of research looking into the visuals and how the family and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference had controlled the media and sort of built this vision of what the funeral was going to be like. She told a great story that I hope is in detail in the book about the hat that Coretta Scott King wore and how it was custom designed to look good in pictures and on television. So she did that talk on Monday. That book is just, I'm really excited, looking forward to that. And then on Tuesday, she came back into the jury room, and then she brought somebody else. She brought the art director for Atlanta Magazine. Emmis Publishing owns Atlanta Magazine, as well as Indianapolis and Cincinnati and Texas Monthly, a whole bunch of magazines. And 2 of them did a little presentation on where they are and talking about multimedia and stuff. And so when they were done with their presentation, I grabbed Mrs. Burns and hauled her off to the side and asked her a couple of questions. And the big one was, what is it that she thinks journalism students need to compete coming out of school in 2011?
But you need to be open to mastering new skills and have some basic core technical ability and curiosity, and then be willing to learn something new, because you'll be learning something new. You'll do on-the-job training all the time. We all went through on-the-job training for InCopy. None of us had worked in InCopy. We had all worked in Quark, and we all had to learn something new. And no one gave us a class for it. We just figured it out. So it's really just that not being scared of technology and not running away when someone tells you that you're going to take something on. But I would say a very handy skill to have is just to be very familiar with Adobe Creative Suite. It really is kind of the gold standard for everything we do, print, online, and in the digital iPad editions. So just mastering some of the basics of Adobe Suite, being familiar with it, how that works, is really, really useful. And you'll always learn the upgrades when you move, and they come out with version 5.7 next year.
After I got done talking to Ms. Burns, we grabbed Sheri Wilson. She's the art director for Atlanta Magazine, and since she deals an awful lot with photography and photojournalists, I asked her what are the types of things that she's looking for when she reviews a photographer's portfolio. What is it that she's looking for when they hire a freelancer at this point in time?
Yeah, one of the things I look for is consistency in the work. Whether you do still lifes or portraits, is your lighting consistent? When I hire you, do I know what I'm going to get in the end? And so one of the things we like to do is we have a notebook where when a photographer comes and meets with us, we'll take samples of that person's work and put in a notebook. So then we'll have the contact information there for that person. So we can flip through the book and say, oh, this person's really great with food. This person, does this hard lighting on their portraits. And we think this look will be good for, this story that we're working on. So we try to match the tone and the style of the photography with the story and what's appropriate.
Also asked her a little bit about what sort of multimedia skills she thought that students were going to need, whether they need to do video, audio slideshows, things along those lines.
It has been helpful. It's definitely a good way to get your foot in the door. We've had a couple recent graduates who have started shooting for us that did have some video skills, and we were able to utilize those. So, it's definitely It's not necessary by any means, but it's another selling point. Once they get in and say, oh yes, and I do digital video too, then, it's another plus.
All right, so that wraps up This Week in Journalism, This Week in Visual Journalism here at the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Georgia. We will be up in Habersham County again next week, so we'll be bringing you some video from there, hopefully some still photos. We've got 7 great editors flying in from all around the country. The editors are fired up, the students are fired up. We've got folks who aren't official editors that are going to come in, drop by, say hi, spend a little bit of time with us, so we're really looking forward to a great weekend up there. But in the meantime, if anything else pops up this week, we'll bring it to you as it develops.